Hi guys, I want to talk about a new topic because this is in response to a very interesting article written by Robert Kagan. I like the name because Kagan is easier for me to pronounce. So basically, this article is interesting because number one, he's a very famous, very influential think tank from Brookings Institute, and then his article published in Atlantic, um, maybe on the 18th, I believe, this month. This article is in responding to Trump administration NSS. NSS stands for National Security Strategy. It's basically annual document that every, or not, probably not annually, but at least each administration will publish this kind of a document. Um, it's a public information. So the NSS actually published December last year, but Kagan's article is on published in January. And then I also watched that on the Instagram there was one interview, interesting that the interviewer asked Kagan, which is the first time I saw his face. Uh, what is the Trump's doctrine? And Kagan was saying that he has no doctrine. He just his doctrine is power. People say that he's transactional, but he's not, because he is only transaction. He favors transaction that is in favor of his power, because he wants to be the emperor of the world. That's kind of interesting, but if you look at this, I left a post on comment on that. I said it's not it's a tug of war between two trains. And then I was thinking about. I mean, I have to come back with some deeper response. And then this morning I was watching the dog, walking the dog, and then the idea suddenly hit me that when you walk the dog, you need a leash, right? But then for the U.S., I have a series called the multiple leash theory. Basically, if you go back, I want to say that the key to understand today's world is two things. Number one, you have to understand the relationship between the U.S. and the rest of the world. Okay, I kind of am feeling bad because I have seen so many articles and books and published talking about the UK. UK is past tense, long past us. To understand, the world order, international order after World War II, you must understand. You must focus on the U.S. I remember when was first in Wisconsin, when I started studying, I met some French guy, and I also heard other people telling me that people who went to Paris, and they all said that you know if you are in France, if you don't speak French, people are not very nice to you. But that was like the 80s and 90s. Look at today. Today it's basically an English word. When you watch the Emily in Paris, you see that the Emily can basically get away without speaking much French, right? That's because a lot of French are learning English. Why? You have to ask us the question why. Because you have to understand the utility of the speaking English. The utility is, the truth is that because US has so many innovations, so many new products, that's basically become, in Kagan's word, becomes global public goods. Okay, then so that's why I make it the English much more useful, relatively speaking to French, right? French is, for ordinary people. If you're a government officer, you still have to learn French, especially if you live in the EU, right? You have to learn French because French now is one of the working language for EU, right? But for ordinary people, they don't care about what is the government working functionality. They talk about They watch the news, they watch the sitcom, they watch the drama, they watch the movies, and all basically all the good ones. I mean, probably not to say all the good ones because I remember there was a one good movie called The Best Offer. That was a very good one. I think it's made in Italy or something else. But you know, the majority of the entertainment are provided by the US in English. So making learning English a worthwhile, a good investment. Okay, so that's what we're talking about. So that's what I'm going back to the point that you have to understand the relationship between the US and the rest of the world. And the second point is that what I came up with this morning. You know, instead of when you walk a dog, you only need one leash. What about the 200 dogs? Let's say each country is a dog. Like we know in the world we have a total of more than 200 countries, and also plus the entities and the territories, stuff like that. So how do you control the world? How do you impact the world? How do you influence the world? You really need multiple dishes. Okay, that's the my key theory that I'm going to talk about. I'm going to add it to my book because in my book originally I was thinking just about international governance through the mitigation, but then I want to add one to it because I want to make my book with densely point that not just the one point. I see some people I would like to write a one book, just the one point, one theory, and then that's it. I want to make it rich, make it densely um, installed. So that's what I'm gonna do. Add to this. So multiple leash is actually do not just good for the world, but also good for the U.S. That's why one of the key thesis for Kagan was that if Trump is gonna change everything, and then the world we're gonna go back to 19th century, uh, which basically in his word that the situation, the international chaos, and will be much worse. Will make the Cold War as a child play, as kids play, and then will make that the order after 1949, which basically the UN established and the World War II ended, make that the uh, post 1949 years as the heaven, paradise. Okay, but excuse me, my central point is that you don't have to worry so much. Why? It's not just that, in order to turn this from a subjective opinion, you come up with some uh, great point, a good point that to fill out your argument, to back yourself up. The key point that I want to make is that you really understand that the U.S. controlling, you call it controlling, influencing, impacting, the world through multiple leashes, you know. And then I came up with 10. I'm gonna talk about this, but these multiple leashes actually act as a constraint for international order, but also as a constraint for the U.S. Because think about it. Let's talk about Trump. You know, Hagen was worried about Trump will mess up everything and then giving up the U.S. role in global roles, and then the European countries will get into dogfight, and then Japan and Korea South Korea will rearmed, will have a rearmament, and then even including the nuclear ones, and then that's what he's worried about. That it will be worse uh, than what we have seen before. So basically, we're going to, according to his theory, that we'll go back to 19th century, where basically every decade you have a major war came out and then killing so many people. In general, that I'm gonna talk about the multiple leash and the 10 leashes. I mean, 10 leashes that I will be talking about. But in general, I think Kogan, that's important, okay? But I think Kogan made the same mistake as many other people. As they try to um, crossing the same river twice. Okay, without understanding that the river, the waters keep flowing. You can never do that. You know, there are some argument against those. So it's basically worrying something that's unlikely to happen. So let's stop here.